Yo guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you've never been here before. So I've just jumped on today to do my pre-market Forex forecast, and this is going to be the forecast for the week commencing the 29th of August and finishing on the 2nd of September. So before we get started with the actual forecast, guys, I would just draw your attention to the written version of this analysis, and you can find this written version of the analysis linked in the description. So if you guys want to check that out, then do just give it a look. Alright, so let's jump into it. Alright, so starting with Nzdusd, what we can see, so today with this I'm going to start from the weekly. So what we can see on the weekly, we've had this whole bearish leg of price action here that was caused by this order block here. Alright, so what we've now seen is prices come back up into this weekly bearish order block, and then we've seen this huge engulfment and a very significant bearish reaction out of this bearish order block here. So now going down to the daily, what we can see is after price has tapped into the weekly order block, we've actually broken structure twice on the daily, so we're now in that confirmed bearish downtrend on the daily. And for me, it is just going to be a case of now looking to continue this bearish move, and I am now going to expect quite a significant bearish move to follow through, breaking this low and taking us further down, continuing with the overall weekly downtrend. So in terms of where to sell from, on the daily I can see two areas which for me are fully valid. So we've got this area up here, which is basically the daily impulsive order block, so the thing that kicked off the whole move. Now for me, if we do get back up into this area, then absolutely I will be looking for sells out of it, and I think that that is fully valid. Now the thing is, well, with the aggressive nature of these candles and the fact that, you know, we are just, if we look back here, we can see that there's a lot of sell volume coming into the market when we actually do see that full release coming in. I would be surprised if we do get back up here. So for me, what I'm really expecting is that price is going to actually just retrace up into this area here, and then we will just go away from this area. And then if we do go down to a 4 hour, what we can see, we've got this very clear refinement. So for me, really, I'm just expecting price to respect that refinement, and that's what I'm going to be looking at on Nzdusd going into next week. So hopefully we'll get a retracement up into here, then we can get them lower time frame entries out of that area. And then of course, you know, if we do end up violating this area, we could sell from up here. And also what's technically valid on the 4 hour is this order block here as well. So it could be that we will violate this, and then we'll come up into here, and we could go from there, and then failing that, we could continue up and go from there. But like I say, guys, for me, this is by far the best order block, and then yeah, if we do violate that, they're my next 2 points to look for sells from. But 100% I'm going to be looking for sells, because we are just pretty much in this situation where we're continuing with the weekly downtrend, and the daily has also transitioned now to a bearish structure. So for me, there's no question that we're going for sells, and in my opinion, it will be from one of these three areas that I've marked here. Alright, so now moving on to AU. So again with AU specifically, I'll just go to the weekly. Alright, so looking at the weekly on AU, we can see, unlike with NZD, we've not actually really tapped into the weekly yet, and that's why I've still got that refinement marked up. Now, the thing is though, even though we've technically not tapped into the actual weekly bearish order block, we have retraced pretty far, and we've actually reacted off this supply here, which is in that candle, and that can be seen more clearly on the lower time frame. We can see very clear order block candle on the 4 hour, and that's what we've reacted off before now transitioning into all this bearish price action. So considering this, and considering the high correlation between AUD and NZD, I am expecting pretty much that AUD is also going to be transitioning into a bearish trend this week coming. So the thing with AU at the minute, we've not actually broken this daily low yet. So technically, the daily is still in a bullish structure. So for me, until we do see that break of structure coming through, then we are technically in a bullish structure. And following that, I do think it's fine to look for buys, and those buys can take us up into this more refined point on the weekly. So until we see the body close, so it's going to be at least Monday night by the time this happens, but until we see the body close below this low here, we are still technically in a fully daily bullish situation, and based on that, it would make sense to continue to look for buys following that. But considering what's happening on Nzdusd and considering that we've seen these bearish candles kicking in now, what I think is more likely is that on Monday we are just going to see that continue push down. We'll end up getting this break of structure, and that will leave behind this order block, which is a parallel of the order block on Nzdusd. And then I'm expecting that price is essentially just going to retrace back up into here and then sell away from there. So NZD this week, AUD sorry this week, I'm basically just looking for if we can get this push down to break this low here, then I'll be looking for sells out of there. If we can't, and if we do see bullish price action, then absolutely it's fine to continue for buys, and that'll be following this whole bullish structure which has been developing, and we know that we've got a target for that with the refined weekly POI. But like I say, most likely for me, we're going to see this break structure, and then we are going to see that bearish continuation, which will parallel with Nzdusd. So let's see what happens on AU, but that's pretty much what I'm thinking. Alright, so let's go over to Euro Dollar. So Euro Dollar, we've now actually broken that range I was speaking about the last few weeks. So like I said last week, you know, it was fully plausible that we were just going to continue down at this point because of how far we've retraced. We'd already come past the equilibrium. So based on that, I was expecting potentially that we could go down, and we have actually just now continued to break structure. So on the daily, we're in a very clear bearish situation, very clear downtrend. And within that, we've got two order blocks. We've got this very extreme order block up here, and then we've got this order block here on the daily. So if we do get up here, then still I look for sells, but I'm just going to ignore that for now because it's not really relevant at this moment. So going into this week, what I'm expecting is essentially within the context of this bearish structure here. So in terms of the daily, I do think it makes sense for us to see that full retracement, 300 pips, fill this imbalance, and then mitigate this candle here. So we can see the institutions mitigate their orders in this order block, and then we'll see that full release to continue down and break structure again. So just from the daily perspective, that's what I think makes sense, is that we'll see this retracement and then we'll continue down away from there. That said though, looking at the 4 hour, we've also got these two order blocks. So, you know, for me, while it would be nice to see it retrace all the way up here, considering how aggressive the price currently is, I absolutely don't think that it's necessary for it to go all the way back up there. And what we definitely could see is that price is just going to push away respecting one of these 4 hour order blocks. So we've got this order block here and this order block here. So we can see that price has already reacted off this 4 hour successful retrace order block. So at this point now, what we could see is that going into next week, we're just going to continue with this reaction away from there. And that's this path here. Probably see a small retracement before we then just continue with this impulsive bearish price action. Now, failing that, and if this wick here is broken, so if this order block's not respected, then I will expect that price is going to continue bullish just to get us up into this area here, fill this imbalance, mitigate this order block, and then I think we can look for sells out of here. And again, I do think that this holds quite a bit of weight just because with how aggressive price is, that is quite a deep retracement, and this one, you know, does seem like a pretty logical point for price to retrace to. So for me, if we can't respect this area, then I'll expect price to get up into here, and then when we do get up into here, I'll look for sells out of there. And then finally, if we can't respect this, so realistically, at that point, it's probably going to be close to the end of the week anyway, if we've travelled up 200 pips. But if we can't respect this order block here, then I do still think that we'll be getting sells out of the daily order block. And again, I will look for sells out of there. So that's EU this week. On these high time frames, I'm not going to be interested in taking any bullish opportunities. So I will just be looking for sells out of these three areas which I spoke about. Alright, so moving on to pound dollar. So pound dollar this week. So as I've spoke about the last few weeks, we've been in this overall sell situation. So we can see most clearly really on the 2-day, we have broke structure there, and then we broke structure again, which I spoke about for multiple weeks, and we've reacted off that area pretty much perfectly, and then we've now broken structure again. So we are just continuing with the sell thesis and the whole sell situation on pound dollar on the higher time frames. And following that, I am going to look for continued sells. Now, looking at the daily, The order block for daily is the actual extreme order block is up here. Now for me that's not really super interesting right now because it's so far away, and I do think that it's just unlikely we're going to retrace all the way up to that specific area and then come down. So what I'm more interested in is what's happening on the 4 hour. Now on the 4 hour with pound dollar, what we've got is basically two order blocks. So we've got this most recent order block, and that's the first place that I look for price to continue away from. So we've got this here, which is broken structure. What I look for initially is a retracement up into there, and then we'll just continue out of there. That's what I think is most likely. That's what I think will happen if NZD and AU play out as I've discussed, and that's probably the cleanest order block. But that said, unlike on Euro Dollar, if we do violate this first order block, then we have got this order block up here. And for me, if we do violate this area, then I'll be really looking for sells out of there, and I will be expecting this area to be respected for sells. So that's pretty much my view on pound dollar. We're looking at sells, like definitely I'm in sell bias. And in terms of where to sell from, initially it's going to be this area, but if that doesn't hold, then I'll be looking for sells out of this area here, and I think that this is a super strong order block. So if we do get back up here, then I'll be very happy to take sells with lower time frame confirmation. All right, guys, and finally, pound yen. So pound yen, as spoke about the last few weeks, we've still got this bullish order block down here with imbalance there. So we've got a clear reason for price to come lower than it has. Also liquidity below this low. But what we've also got is this bullish order block here, which is still supporting the price. So until we see this bullish order block broken, we can still anticipate that price is overall going to continue higher to make new highs. But for me, we do still have a reason to come lower. So at the minute, I am just more interested in what's going on the 4 hour. Looking at a 4 hour, we're still reacting off this 4 hour bearish order block that I've been speaking about the last few weeks. And it does seem like we have just formed this bearish order flow, like we've got bearish order flow developing. So for me, what I'm anticipating is that price is just pretty much going to continue, and we will get a full release out of this bearish order flow, which will break this bullish order flow here to the downside, and that'll basically just be a follow through of this whole 4 hour bearish situation that I've been talking about the last few weeks. With that said though, we do have this here which broke structure, so that's a 4 hour bullish impulsive move. Now for me, the purpose of that was just to mitigate and continue the bearish order flow, so that's why I'm still overall of a bearish bias. But I'm not going to ignore the fact that we have just got a bullish order block there. So whilst I would prefer to see price continue down and to look for sales, if we do see significant low time frame confirmations out of there, then I do think that it's absolutely fine to look for buys and at least to be able to target up here as a first target. But you know, if we do see that bullish thesis start to kick in, then I do expect that we'll be going into higher highs on pound yen. So it's definitely worth being aware of the bullish situations here. Now, what we've also got, there is still the possibility that price will just transition to bullish from deeper within this daily order block. So what we may see is a bearish follow through away from here, which will break these lows here, take out any liquidity, and then we'll just see the mitigation of orders deeper in this order block before we do then continue higher. So again, we have got that opportunity to go bullish out of this daily order block, and if we do see that following through, again, I will be anticipating that we're going to break the high on the daily. But guys, overall, we've got a clear reason for price to come lower below this whole range. So for me, until we see clearly shown otherwise, then I will be anticipating that we are just going to continue for sells, and that those sells will eventually bring us down here to target this area before we then do make those longer term higher highs. So guys, that's my view on pound yen this week, and I hope this forecast has been clear for you guys. If you got any questions, then do just leave a comment, and if you've got any queries about my actual analysis, then it should be explained clearly in the written version, so just check out the written version if you guys are interested in that. Alright guys, so thank you very much for watching. If you appreciate these forecasts or any of my content, please do subscribe to the channel because it does mean a lot, and please do like the video. So guys, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys all have a safe trading week. Stick to your trading plans, stick to your risk management, and don't overtrade. Cheers guys.